So, to kick things off, I do start with the same boring question, even though I feel like if anybody's on TikTok, they should know who you are already. But the basic intro, who are you, and just a little background on yourself.
All right, my name is MaryJo Young. I'm 22, 23 in a couple weeks, and I'm a singer, and I post stupid videos too, just for fun.
Yeah.
Because who doesn't love being roasted?
Hey, you have to have fun with it. And honestly, like in today's world with the attention span, thanks to TikTok, like those are probably getting more views than anything else anyway.
Right now, they actually are.
Yeah, it's brutal. I know. So let's dive into the who is Mary Jo, right? So I think you've got this really cool story, and especially being as young as you are, and I'm sure you're probably tired of people bringing up the age because it shouldn't matter. Uh, but talk a little bit about your journey because being so new, but also having the experience of being on American Idol and kind of being exposed to the industry in a very big way very early.
Yeah. It was weird. So I never sang in front of anyone. My whole family was always musical, but I was really private about it. I had like big stage fright, and I also just didn't really I just didn't do it. I kind of felt cringy, I guess. But then, TikTok came along and Twitter. I did this too, where I post little singing videos because I'm like, no one's gonna see them if I don't follow my friends or anything like that. And then ended up doing well. And then all of the like Idol and like AGT and the Four and all that
Hmm.
stuff, they all reached out. And originally I was like, no, I can't do it. I'm terrified. I'm literally gonna throw up on stage if I do that. But then at the same time, I had been talking to a couple managers who are my managers now, Kelly and Audrey, and I told them, but they reached out and they're like, absolutely do it because it's COVID right now. No one's watching anything, or no one's like, everyone's going to be watching everything because they can't go to live concerts. So I ended up doing it. It's hard for me to go back and watch because I wasn't like trained to sing when I was terrified. So
Yeah.
I don't really like to go back and watch. Maybe a couple years after that, then I was signed with Atlantic, and now we've been touring and putting out music and all that good stuff. So I guess
Yeah.
that's the journey.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of my first exposure to you was when Knox announced the tour, and then you guys came through Indianapolis back in February, and I was just telling Gabby like your stage presence for someone that claims that they're shy on stage is insane. Like 100 miles an hour, the breath control, the projection that you have, like you've got such a strong voice and you're bouncing around the stage. It's just incredible to watch.
Or where that came from. It just kind of happened. to the, I'll
Yeah.
let my alter ego take over now.
You know, there's a lot of artists that are like that, like the offstage personality, but the second they hit stage, those lights come on. It's like, cool, I'm the showman. It's fine. We'll do this.
Yeah. Give the people what they came for.
Right. Right. So, what's it like? You've been out on the road with Knox for a while now, just wrapped up that second leg. He's still relatively new to the industry as well, but he's been playing shows obviously for a long time. What kind of advice and learning tree was he for you?
I think just like when things go wrong, you just kind of play it off. Like you don't act like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Because he had a time where his mic went out and he handled it amazing, and I hadn't experienced that yet, and I actually just experienced that on the Alex Warren show, and I just kind of went along with it. The crowd loved it, so just keeping it going and not looking at everyone like, well, what do I do? It's like, no, it's supposed to, things like that happen. So just kind of figuring out those little hurdles.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a band director way back when I was in high school that told me it's okay if you miss the note, just do it with confidence because nobody will know that it was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Like my voice was cracking a lot towards like the end of the last one. I'm like, it's fine. It happens when I talk to. I'm sure people will understand.
But I think that's the incredible thing with your show is, you know, Indianapolis, that was the first time you had played there, obviously. It was the first time Knox was there as well. And like I'm sure obviously there were people that had heard your music before, but I think everyone in that room was moving whether they knew your music or not. So like even if something happened, it's okay.
Oh, that's I'm like, yeah, there'd be like a couple here and there at every show that would know some, and I think some of them like just knew I was going to open for Knox, so they quickly learned all their
Right.
music. It was so fun afterwards because they're like, "I'm going to download all your music," and I'm like, "You should."
And let's talk a little bit about that, kind of for lack of a better term, the growth side of the business, right? Looking at the streams and stuff like that, watching the business portion of it. How much have you seen that change, obviously, just coming through those tours?
A lot, honestly. And it's mainly that, like, you'd have a fan interaction here and there, and now they're just like a lot more sticky. And like, there was like this one time, there was someone in the bathroom, and like, I like heard them crying. And I kind of just like waited in there because I'm like, oh, see if she's okay. And she came out and she's like, I was like, are you okay? And she was just like crying. She's like, I'm just going through a really hard time. Like, I gave her a hug. And after that, it's just since tour, those connections with fans have been so much better in person because then it's not just kind of online or just saying thank you. It's like you get to
Yeah.
like really bond with them.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's the beauty of music. That's why I made my site called "You Make the Scene" because I'm a firm believer that it's all about the community, the scene that you're in, and I think that live music, especially, has this really beautiful opportunity to allow healing and vulnerability, and you know, open up to a complete stranger and say, "I'm just having a shit week. Like I'm here."
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Yeah. So speaking of bathrooms, I saw your latest TikTok where you tried to hand dry a drink. Let's talk about that real quick.
I think I knew what was gonna happen. It's just we were kind of in the middle of making a video, and I'm like, why not? So we took the video, and that sound wasn't supposed to be on there, but I accidentally had it running during it. It was just way
Right.
down. So I'm like, well, this is great, and we cleaned it all up. Like we're getting like roasted. Like, do you know how much particles are on that? I'm like, no, I don't. I mean, I was just drunk with my friend in the bathroom, and we were just like messing around. We cleaned it up, threw the drink away. Actually, we didn't even have to throw the drink away because the hand dryer did everything for it.
Right. Yeah, I saw that video the other day and I'm just like, surely she knew that that wasn't going to do anything.
I don't think it's gonna be anything good, but it was fun.
Yeah. And that's the important part, right? You have to relax, you have to let your hair down. Um, so let's talk about, as you're moving forward, you've just released Should Be Us. Talk a little bit about the vulnerability that's in your music because it's throughout everything that you've released. What is that it's obviously a conscious decision, but is it a absolute must do for you to have that vulnerability?
Yeah, with every song, because then I think that's when people listen, and then they don't like. Some people hear melodies more than lyrics. Some people, and I feel like when your voice is more vulnerable, then they listen to the story more of the song, and then they can find ways to relate to the song, whether it's like their style or not, but they're still listening to something, whether they like it or not. But if I was just singing da 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 da, and I really say anything like be like emotional in it, then it's not as big of a connection with like the listener.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I think authenticity is obviously important. So from the female side, as a, middle-aged white man, I can't speak to this. So from the female side, how much nervousness is there, or do you find it empowering to have that sort of vulnerability within the song?
Um, I think I was nervous with it when like Traffic came out. Just like kind of, but not really, because I felt more comfortable because I knew it was my voice. And like that's when like I had known like because I got signed because of Traffic, which Knox wrote on, is like I was like, well, this is what if they like this song, if they like that vulnerability and they don't think it's cheesy or stupid and it's just like my voice, then like it just made me more confident to put it out. And in fact it made me like kind of do it even more, you
Yeah.
know, like shy away.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some super pop songs where you don't really use it in every lyric, you just do some parts, but like it's still, somewhat there a little bit. And I'm like,
Yeah, well, I think, you know, even in the super pop songs, like you said, there's bits and pieces of it, but I think there's also times where maybe in the super poppy songs, it's like I just need a break from the vulnerability. Like, let's just go party for a minute.
exactly. Like, there's this one song that I was doing on tour, and when we were doing it, I was like, this is nice because it's right after Cleveland. Like, after I performed Cleveland, I'm like, okay, now they don't have to be that depressed. They can get a break. I can.
Yeah. What's it like designing a set list at this point in your career? Because obviously you've got a decent catalog, but you don't have a ton of catalog. So picking, you know, covers and things like that still.
Yeah, I kind of, well, for the cover, I just thought, like, what would the audience have most fun with that they know? So I can, like, jump in and everyone know it. And, like, so then creating the set list, I had no idea what order I was going to put it in. My MD, Ginger, helped me with that heavily because I told him all the songs that I wanted. And I knew what song I wanted to start with, but I didn't know how to, like, strategically place them in order to, like, not overwhelm like the beginning of sad songs and the end be pop, or like where to put the cover because after the cover they'll probably listen to my music more. So
Right.
Ginger helped me with all that, and he did a really good job because then I could breathe for a little bit too. So
Yeah. Well, and I think that's something that a lot of fans probably don't understand is that set list design um, is important for so many reasons. It's the flow of the show. It's when you want to pick up energy and leave energy, but sometimes it's just for the vocal rest of I poured my heart into that last one. I need a break here. So this is our sing along cover.
yeah, exactly. And then it's nice because they usually know it, so I'm like, sing for me.
Yeah. Um being on the road as much as you've been here lately, what are some things that you've learned again as a relatively new artist to this touring life?
um, that I can be crazy on stage. I think the first half of it was just, not being nervous, like singing in front of people. And after tour, I totally am not, and I totally found this like new part of me that's just like, wait, probably too comfortable on stage. So that was like just a big one of like learning like what I want to put out on when I'm on the stage and like what part of my energy goes where. That I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. What about like road life tour hacks? Like what's your favorite like gas station, travel stop, whatever?
Hmm. I don't know if I'm in Starbucks. We went to Starbucks every single morning. Starbucks, but the part about being on the road is seeing all the little animals, not the dead ones, but like the little ones. And like we saw prairie dogs. I went up to a prairie dog. I thought it was a bunny, so I
Ooh.
went up to it. It wasn't a bunny. It was a hole. So I just kind of slowly sat down by this hole, and it came up to me and started hanging out with me and sniffing me. Then four more prairie dogs come up and start hanging out. And I text my phone manager, Maggie, and I go, bring the popcorn, but slowly. So then she walks over. And then we have like this whole big family of prairie dogs hanging out with us. Same thing has happened with squirrels. We hung out with some horses. The horse wasn't wild, I don't think, but he was cool.
Yeah. See, that's something that, you know, a lot of people don't get to experience, right? Like being able to travel the country and then have those moments where it's like, am I in a Disney movie? What's happening here?
Oh, literally. Wyoming. Shout out to Wyoming. That's where a lot.
Yeah. So as you are kind of moving forward with all of this newfound success and kind of the sudden, you know, newfound success, how much of you is struggling with or, you know, dealing with any sort of like imposter syndrome, things like that, because now it's like everybody sees me, but am I good enough? Am I ready? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um, I don't think I really deal with it. I think it's just a part of me, and I just kind of am going with the flow with figuring it out. I also have a therapist, so so that helps. But
Yeah.
I think it was probably really hard. Maybe it was when I lived in Nashville, and I had this whole like breakdown, and I don't think it was even had to do with the music. I think it had to do with I was 21 and I just needed to go home and figure out some things. And my team was like super supportive. And then with that, like I just, with the music part, I haven't really struggled because I'm not trying to be someone else in my artistry. I think if I were to be like a different person or like cover it up or like not be like who I am, then I would struggle a lot more.
Yeah. Do you think that has a lot to do with the fact that you do write most of your own music? I mean, obviously there's co-writes and stuff, but that you're so involved in that process?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think that helps tremendously because, it's kind of like writing in your journal too.
Hmm.
It's a public journal, but like, and people won't know if my story is actually that story or if I'm kind of creating a story based on an idea that I want to write about, but I'm still getting that part out of me. So it won't be boxed in where I have to go and worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I learned. I've been doing this for 20 years, music journalism now. And, early on, I made the mistake of asking a lot of artists, like, oh, tell me what this song's about. And then it never had the same meaning that I thought it was going to have. And I'm like, well, that sucks.
But it's music, so it can be if you
Right.
want it to. Because like the artist's job is just to create whatever they wanted to create and like be a vessel for whatever the listeners want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite clips was Kelly Clarkson was interviewing Dave Grohl on her show, and they were talking about the song "Learn to Fly." It's one of her favorite songs, and she's like, "It's so beautiful how you use these metaphors," and going into real deep detail. And Dave's sitting there, and he's like, "I literally wrote that song about wanting to get my pilot license. It has nothing to do with what you're talking about, but I love that you think that."
That's so cool to watch that.
Yeah, it killed me when you could just see the like look of crush on her face.
Yeah, maybe some things shouldn't be. No, I'm just kidding.
Right, right. So as 2024 is unfolding, it's becoming, obviously the biggest year of your career so far. Let's talk about you got invited to a festival for the first time ever. What's this like?
I'm so excited. When I first like met with like my agents and they asked what I wanted to do, I said festivals, summer festivals. Not even like well, yeah, Coachella would be nice, obviously, but
Right.
just I'm like I love like I just think the energy is there like is always good, and
Yeah.
people sound better because they're usually drunk.
Well, that and I think the crowds are more receptive because they know they're going to hear different types of music.
They're usually a lot more like down to like become a new fan of someone because they
Yeah.
know what they put themselves into. They're not going to see one specific artist. I mean, sometimes they might be, but even if you are, they usually get into that mindset because there's so much music happening around them where they become one of those people that love to just go to festivals and scout out new artists.
Yeah. Other than Coachella, are there any bucket list festivals that you're like, I have to do this at some point?
Oh, there's this one place that starts with an M, and I don't know why I can't think of it, but it's not a festival. I can't think of it, but I would like to do Lollapalooza, and I don't really sing country. Maybe if I were to be featured on a country song stagecoach, could be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Lollapalooza is the one that came to mind for me, probably because Chicago is only 3 hours away from me. But like, I think Lala has always had just such a diverse lineup too, that it's
Yeah,
really easy for people to like find that new music and niche.
yeah. I also like their name,
Yeah.
honestly.
Right. How do you not? Um, so you're obviously always writing, trying to work on new music. What was that like while you were on the road as well? Because I think again, people misunderstand how busy road life is and how little time really exists even on a day off.
Yeah. I mean, I would write in the car and I would write in my hotel room so like I could, or just at least think of concepts because right after this, I go back into sessions. So,
Right.
but I was prepared. But we were in so many sessions right before tour. But it's even like the press behind it. And then like everything you have to do like right before the shows and like vocal lessons and warm ups. So you hop on those like right before. And then right after your show, you hop on the bus or the van or whatever and you drive 2 to 3 hours to your next destination so that because you have 8 more to drive the next morning,
Right.
yeah. And I don't mind it. Like I loved seeing it because I was like I didn't really know that until I looked on Master Tour and my managers and my tour manager explained it to me, and I'm like, cool. I'm really interested to see what my body thinks about this.
Yeah, and I think that's something too that a lot of people maybe don't think about is like the sleep schedule gets completely fucked. The food is not, clean eating. So vitamins, all that becomes super important.
I woke up every single day of tour at 4:30 in the morning, and then it got so bad. I'm like, okay, it's like, am I haunted right now? Like canceled one of my rooms on tour. Had my tour manager sleep in my room with me because I was like, "Can you tell me what I do?" or something like, because I was sleep talking a lot, sleepwalking, all of that, and I wake up at 6:30 in the morning, and I go, "Oh, it's 6:30. I did it. Like that's better. I can go back to sleep." She goes, "MaryJo, actually, it's still 4:30 your time," and I go, "Oh, sorry."
That's brutal. That is brutal. I think too with that, like obviously the coast change of time really affects you as well. It takes a while to switch time zones in your body.
Yeah, and since it like kept switching, even if it was like an hour or two difference or something, I think still like my body couldn't really catch up to that part.
Yeah. Well, especially, you're only in certain time zones 2 or 3 days, and then you're moving to the next and back and forth.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like jet lag on the ground, right? It's bus lag.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. Um, so as the year continues here, and new music is being planned, obviously, Gabby, we won't break any rules. But what can fans kind of expect as far as what your plans are, what your hopes are for 2024 when it comes to music specifically?
We got a duet coming, so that's exciting. Won't say who with, but you'll find out in a few days anyway. And yeah, we have a big ballad coming out too, which I'm excited because I love singing a big ballad. It's like, and it's with Dave Pittenger, and I've been working on it for so long, like so long. So I'm really excited to have it out. Um, yeah, I think we're just gonna explore like collaborating and getting some more ballads out, and then because I have so many like pop and pop rock ones done that
Hmm.
I kind of got back to that world for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any songs that are currently out or maybe that have come out since you've been doing this professionally that you're like, man, I wish that was my song?
Yeah. Um. Oh my gosh, what is it called? Blur by Mo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would that. And honestly, all of Upsall's songs. Taylor Upsall.
Yep.
She's amazing. And every single one of Julia Michaels' songs that she's ever released.
She's incredible as well. Yeah. Um, so what I like to do towards the end, I refuse to think of better questions as we wrap up. So I bought this game called Hot Takes. It's just like crappy opinions and whatnot. And I want to see if you agree, disagree, if you want to expand on any of them, whatever.
Ooh, okay.
So the first one is that iced coffee is better than hot coffee.
I agree. But it does depend on the season most of the time.
So if it's winter, you want hot coffee just for the warmth.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
McDonald's, I like their hot coffee. But like in Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks and stuff, I like their iced. It
Yeah.
depends on the because then if I'm getting a caramel macchiato or a caramel brulee at Starbucks, then that's gonna be hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. I think that's probably the biggest factor for a lot of people is like what flavor of drink is it going to be because that determines what I need.
Exactly.
Pineapple is a delicious pizza topping.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't hate it or love it. It's just kind of there. It just tastes like there's a pineapple on my pizza, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. It gets hated on because it's the cool thing to be hated on, but
Yeah,
like it doesn't add or take anything away from the pizza really.
yeah, I think it's just kind of there.
Yeah. Let's go with it's totally okay to pee in the shower.
I personally don't. I know that is a common thing. I'm sure when I was little, like when I was
Right.
I don't judge anyone for doing it. I just I feel kind of I'm like I don't want to step on my feet.
That's fair. That's fair. I think it's one of those things where like people people justify it because it's like, well, you're in the shower and it's just going down the drain. And it's like, yeah, but it's still pee.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I'm sure after that video in the bathroom with the drink, everyone thinks I'd be in the shower though.
For sure. And then the last one is that a hot dog is a sandwich.
Oh, I don't think so. I think it is, but I think the oh damn. I think if anything, it'd be more of a burger because of the type of bun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I could see that. Yeah.
yeah.
I would say to me, like, I don't know why this is how it works in my head, but because a hot dog bun is connected, it can't be a sandwich. Like it needs to be two separate pieces of bread to be a sandwich.
Yeah, that's a good argument.
But I guess you have sub sandwiches too. You know what I mean? Like hoagies and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird. I'm gonna ask my friends tonight about that one.
Just take a big poll and see what people say. Yeah. Awesome. That's everything I've got for you on this particular episode. I'm sure we'll have more of these talks in the future. But I always link all the socials and everything, obviously. But I want to give you the last few minutes, however long it takes you. Promote whatever you want to promote. Tell people where they can find you, the best way to interact, things like that.
You can find me in your basement. No, I'm just kidding. My Instagram is MaryJo period Young. My Snapchat is MJ period Young with two G's. And what else do I have? Oh, my TikTok is the same as my Instagram, MaryJo period Young. And I think that's the social media that I use. Twitter, I don't know what my Twitter is, but I know it says MaryJo Young.
That's fine. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Awesome. Like I said, that's everything I've got for you. I'm stoked for you. Again, seeing you back in February with Knox and Indy was really my first exposure. We've, chatted on Instagram a couple times here and there. And I think that you've got one of those voices I was telling Gabby that is so powerful that I think it's going to be really hard for people to ignore it. And I mean that as the best compliment possible, that like it's so there and it's so in key and projected that people have to pay attention, and then once they pay attention they're going to be like, oh shit, like this is really dope stuff.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That's so sweet.
Yeah. Awesome. That's everything I've got for you, MaryJo. So I'll definitely keep you posted. This is also fun fact, going to be episode number 200 of this podcast, so congratulations there.
Thank you. I'm excited. I
Yeah.
like that.
Awesome. Yeah.
Gosh, it's meeting you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll see you
Awesome.
next time.
For sure. For sure.